because I want people to know kind of the value that you represent and the kind of the good intentions you have as your token. But before we do that, anybody that might be listening might not know who you are, might not know kind of person that you are. So you've told me before, but I'm going to get you to tell me again. Can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit how you got started in crypto and eventually founding VOYCEToken?
Sure. So, just to, I suppose, to clarify from the outset is to clarify that I'm a qualified software engineer. So I'm a techie nerd at heart. But have been for over 25 years at this stage. So it's been a lot of lines of code have been written over that period of time. But I would have gotten into Bitcoin pretty early on. No, certainly not early enough to. I didn't invest enough to make myself retire on the profits, but I did pretty well. I got into Bitcoin when it was about $3,000, give or take, and that was probably back in 2017. And from that point on, I started buying the likes of Cardano and Litecoin and a few others that were floating around at the time as well. But I suppose I was kind of learning the ropes in terms of the crypto world. Like anybody else, I wasn't really sure what the future in this space would look like. And I certainly didn't, even at that time, have any plans to have my own project, and that kind of came later. But prior to buying Bitcoin, I had spent a good number of years, and still do even to this day, trading forex and commodities, and I had written a lot of code to integrate with various exchanges and trade, and built trading bots to identify trading patterns and place my trades for me while I slept and that type of thing. So it's always easier to make money while you're sleeping than trying to do it manually. So I did that as I said, for even up to now, I still do a lot of that, which is kind of an exciting thing to do. But so I always had that interest in the trading space. It was just a natural thing to me, albeit I approached it from very much the technical side. I was always into automating, making a profit. That was the key thing.
So you were a technical trader to start out with. You were reading charts and looking for patterns and all that.
Yeah. So I learned the ropes, and I read all the books, Trading for Dummies and so on and so forth, and but you get to learn the patterns. You get to learn what types of algorithms work well together, and you start putting those together. And I did that manually for a while, but then it became clear to me that I didn't have the time to manually trade all day, and I remember when one of the first APIs came out to integrate with crypto, I built a trading bot, and the trading bot was always profitable with the exception of the commission. So the commission would make it a loss-making bot, and that frustrated me. So I knew my algorithms were correct, but the exchanges were taking all the goods out of it, But
Right.
so, that was always in the back of my mind. But I suppose in terms of VOYCEToken, having monitored the crypto space for a long time from a trading perspective, but also from a technical perspective, I was the former head of blockchain for one of Ireland's largest tech research centres for a period of time. And through that role, I would have met with a lot of companies, both in Ireland and internationally, and discussed their blockchain requirements. Now, their blockchain requirements didn't always fit with the crypto space, okay? But in some cases it did. If they were creating their own blockchain, or if they had a requirement, they may create their own token and have some sort of a reward system on that, depending on
Sure.
what industry they were in and so on. So again, I approached, I suppose, blockchain from the technical, but from the industrial side of things, commercially. I wasn't really doing a lot of the crypto stuff in that particular role. But all of those, I suppose, experiences kind of combined, and just to give a little bit of, I suppose, background on me personally, I went through, as probably maybe a lot of people have done in their life, I went through kind of a financial crisis where I nearly lost it all, and was, within days or even weeks of losing my home, and trying to figure out how I'd explain that to my wife and kids. So
That's what I've done this AMA with you before and heard you say a little bit about on that. So I want you to, I feel like we have to kind of talk about that a little bit, and that you were, like you said, within weeks or even days of being homeless yourself.
Yeah. What actually happened was, when there was a property boom in Ireland, like the Celtic Tiger era is what it was called, but it smashed and crashed and burned, as did the property market all over the world at that time, back in 06, 07, 08. But I had been buying properties prior to that, and the whole thing came, the house of cards come crumbling down on me. And as a result of that, I kind of had to sell as much as I could to try and offset those debts. I ended up being, I was officially bankrupted in the High Court in Ireland, and but thankfully through a good solicitor, I managed to keep the family home.
So let me stop you right there. So the worldwide economy kind of collapsed there, particularly in
So,
'08. And, you had to like sell some properties that you probably would have rather not. You had a judge
everything,
say,
yeah, all the
yeah,
property sold, everything, but I managed to keep the family home, and I think one of the key reasons why I was allowed to do that, even though all of the banks wanted to take it, and they said in no uncertain terms that they were going to take it, but I'm married, I have 6 kids, 5 of them living in this home here with me, and the judge took pity on me, and that's the reality of it. The judge said, we're not putting 5 kids on the street. And if I had been married or single, with one child, I probably would have been out in the street. But it kind of played in my favor, I think. And I'm only speculating the reasons behind why I was
sure.
allowed to keep home. But
But I mean,
I think,
I'm thinking about, from your standpoint, who went on to create this voice token that is, aiming to, help homeless. That had to have, made an impression on you so strongly that you must have said, I almost was homeless myself. I want to be able to create something to help people
well,
in these type of scenarios.
well, that's the thing, and when I was told that I was going to be allowed to stay in the house, I remember I cried that day. I cried a lot that day. There were
Sure.
happy tears. But
Yeah.
I remember kind of saying to myself, I don't know the exact wording now, but it was along the lines of, if I ever get out the far side of this, if I ever get back on my feet financially, whenever that is and however that might look like, I'm going to do something to help the underprivileged, the people that have been kicked out of their homes, the people that are living on the street, the people that can't feed themselves or put clothes on their children's backs. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. I certainly didn't think at that point that I would be creating a cryptocurrency and a blockchain and all of that in this space.
Be sure to listen in to all of our weekly shows and follow us on Twitter for updates.